Welcome to Disruptive Capitalists, the show where purpose-driven entrepreneurs and bold investors share how they're reshaping the world by investing time and money in a way that improves lives and creates wealth. So let's get to it. Everybody, thank you again for joining us for another great episode of the Disruptive Capitalist podcast, where we talk about making a difference in the world with our time and money and not just being focused on the money. Speaking of today, we have a person who does care about other people, and that's Justin Lund, who has joined us. He's a founder, advisor, and coach who's built and exited multiple companies. His path hasn't been a straight line. He's also walked through addiction recovery and a legal battle that cost him tens of millions of dollars. I wish I could say I didn't know what that felt like, but I do. Those experiences reshaped how he approaches business. Today, he helps growth stage founders break past their capacity ceiling by teaching them mindset shifts, systems, and delegation skills they need to scale without burning out. Justin, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, you bet, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for that introduction. You covered a lot of the high notes there. Definitely not a straight path by any means. It's been crooked, bumpy, and wrought with challenges. But that's kind of what defines and makes you, that's what makes a man, I guess. So I started at a young age interested in entrepreneurial pursuits, probably fueled by Tony Robbins when I was just a kid, like 7, 8 years old. My brother bought one of those.
Tony.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's fantastic.
I just thought it was so cool when he would talk about flying into these events in his helicopter. And I thought, wow, that'd be pretty cool. As an 8-year-old, that was just the neatest thing ever. But that's probably where I started thinking that working for yourself and not having a job, but being your own boss might be cool. I didn't realize what I was really wishing for at the time. But
bad choice.
That planted a seed. And then that seed, I went to college and I like psychology. I like the Tony Robbins stuff, and that stuck with me. I read a lot of books, listened to a lot of programs and things like that. But in college, the psychology courses, I just couldn't be a social worker. Therapy wasn't for me. I didn't see myself going down that road. Got married, then had a baby on the way, and then got married. That kind of sped up the process there. So I went all in on my sales job that I was using to pay for my way through college to support this new young family. And it was there that I got into the trouble with addiction, because there was a lot of drug use that took place in that environment. And I guess that's how people who didn't have coping mechanisms for a lot of rejection would cope, is they would just numb a lot of that and have a fun time with these crazy substances. So that pushed me into rehab after some legal troubles and running in some run-ins with the law, that I had to go to rehab. It was a compelled thing, as maybe a Hail Mary Mayday to avoid real jail time, like a long time. Yeah. Now I had 2 kids. So I didn't really want them to grow up without a dad. So I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. That was fantastic. Like, I loved that experience. 6 weeks of just focusing on me and my psychology, not general principles, but like, what the heck is going on in here that's making me make decisions the way I do? And I learned a lot of really cool frameworks and systems for, stimulus comes in, stop and select a response. It's not just automatic. There's choice here that you can make. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I had a great place. It wasn't a fancy place or anything, but the doctors, the professionals there were just what I needed, just my speed to really help me sink my teeth into that recovery process and learn how to be a better version of me, and how to really deal with that kind of stuff. So that gets me to the point where now, coming out of that, after 6 weeks there, I've got this new, healthy, my mind is clear for the first time in a few years. And I'm just committed to building something to try to show the world that I have some worth and some value, not the least of which my spouse and my immediate family, siblings. But one thing that I did learn in rehab through, the great team there was one guy, his name is Dr. Bob. He's an old man and looked like Santa Claus, and big white beard, white hair. And he taught me that one of the reasons, the triggers that was getting me into these bad behaviors and habits was doing things that I felt like if I had a calling, or he wouldn't use those words, but I do. But more like if I felt like I had potential, there was something that I could do, and I undercut that potential, that it created a cognitive dissonance and an emotional disconnect inside of me. And then I would always look for things to do to fill that void. And I have a tendency of looking for really unhealthy things to do to fill that void.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was important because when I came out of rehab, I mean, I'd left a trail of collateral damage behind me. You know, the house was in foreclosure. The cars were past, I mean, their car payments were 2, 3, 4 months past due. Credit card debt out the wazoo. I mean, I tried to keep it together for years, but every month it just like it was dwindling and getting worse and worse. So getting out, we had nothing. My wife was able to sell the house right before like that final foreclosure deadline. But then that
Wow.
was it. We had nothing. And it's not like we made any money. We weren't able to pay off any of the debts. So there's still all this looming debt. And I come out and say, "Hey, I'm going to start a business now. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm going to start a brand new gig from zero, from the ground up."
Yeah.
And that, without the training and the tools that I received in rehab, there's no way I could have stuck to that because it took me a year of working 18 plus hour days, sleeping literally on my mother's living room floor with my wife and 2 children in a tiny little house. And like that's just not a good situation for a young married family, no matter how you slice it. But
No.
I knew that the alternative was go take a job that then I would have to risk all these things and all this inner conflict. And I just needed to know for myself, could I build something? Could I do without partners, without somebody to blame, without all these other things that I've had through the past 5 or 10 years of attempts? Could I really do it? And I started to prove that I could. And after that first year of sleeping on the floor, I was able to kind of upgrade the situation and get into a new. I had just a series of miracles that took place in life throughout
Yeah.
that time, and got to the business to the point where it was just south of 7 figures, and really started to click and hum along, and then kind of hit the hockey stick growth, and it was awesome for the next few years.
That's fantastic. And then,
Then it kind of dropped the other way. So well, that was, I mean, we got to the point where we were near 9 figures of revenue after about 5 or 6 years in business. One company turned into 2 or 3, and then 3 or 4 more. So there was kind of supporting, we had 100 people working there, 98 employees, kind of at our height. So every time we found like a problem that needed a solution that we could do, we kind of spun up a different company to kind of support our internal operations as well as bring customers in from the outside world and create new revenue streams.
yeah.
So it was all going well, but then there was the 2009, the economy really shifted and banks started getting taken over by the FDIC, housing crisis, liquidity shrunk, clients started going into bankruptcy protection, invoices aren't getting paid, payroll gets a little tougher to make, which made a situation that had been taking place for years become more apparent. I was absent the process. I had a head in the stand strategy when it came to looking at finances and compliance filings, and I gave
Yeah.
all the deference to somebody else to do all that stuff, and they leveraged and used that deference to really get tens of millions of dollars off the books and siphoned out into other places. So it was
Wow.
the collapse of the economy that really made that, because again, things were shrinking and constricting, and it was tough, and we were trying to work through it, trying to deal with these huge receivables we had out there, millions of dollars of receivables, but still make payroll, still pay vendors. But then as it started to get really tight, and there was one last kind of fell swoop of the last, there was no more time to be subtle about siphoning a little money. It was just take what's left. And so when that happened, it
Oh my
was,
goodness.
yeah, that was a
Terrible.
kind of a clear sign that, okay, there's a problem. And I'd been avoiding it the whole time and just trying not to see it because I didn't want to. And I had a lot of trust that was misplaced.
Wow. And so they stole from you, your people and everything else. Um, and you went into legal battle.
Yeah. That wasn't really my speed. It's not my favorite thing to do, but because there were some tax implications, huge tax,
Mhm.
there was gross understatements of revenue. And that's how I kind of realized that this wasn't just it was outright, there was a lot of misconduct going on.
Yeah.
I looked at some of the tax returns for the first time. Unfortunately, that was the stupid part of me avoiding what was hard. Looked at these tax returns and realized there was like 100x factor of understatement of revenue in some cases.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So there was, $30 million of revenue in an entity and reported income of 300,000 one year. And it's like, wait, what? so, I was given two choices by some professionals, and they said I had two doors that I could choose. Door number one was slip off and make no noise and hope to hell nobody ever looks. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. What's door
Yeah.
two? And they said, door two is you refile all of those taxes. You're going to owe a lot, and you probably will spend the rest of your life and may never pay it all off because there's interest, there's penalties, and it's going to keep just growing.
Yeah.
Okay, back to door one. What happens if I did that and then somebody did look? And they're like, almost certain prison because this isn't like a little bit of a miscalculation. This is a massive understatement. So,
Yeah.
like, well, now I have three kids, another one on the way. And it's like, well, I can't. There again, I'm faced with this jail possibility. I'm like, really? Is it going to come down to this again? So
Yeah.
door number one wasn't an option, and I started to go through door number two, not knowing just what I was in for, what I was up to. And I spent the next 4.5 years trying to piece together my financial world with forensic accountants, with people that trying to track money into 220 plus different entities that it was being siphoned and shuffled around to. Trying to figure out what income actually existed, what I needed to put on a tax return, and refiled those a few times with new and accurate information. And a tax bill with the IRS that was just south of $5 million, plus penalties and interest on top of that. So
Wow.
it was a master class in how not to avoid the discomfort, or else you're going to get real uncomfortable.
Yeah. I find it's interesting. People say, well, get in your genius zone, right? You should just stay in your genius zone where you're happy.
Hmm.
I agree, unless you're the CEO of a company, and then you need to understand all the zones because your genius zone may not be accounting.
Yeah,
You
amen.
better understand what that is because the IRS, the entities to be, they don't care that you don't know.
Yeah.
You should have known.
Oh, 100%. Sam, I can tell you without unequivocally, like I had conversations with these people with the IRS, and I'm like, it wasn't me. That's a forged signature on a tax return. And they had this many cares about it. It was,
Yeah.
they said, is it your entity? Was your name on the bank account? Then everything else is irrelevant. It's your
Yeah.
responsibility. So
Yeah.
you are 100% right in that you need to have some of that. And I'll tell you more. That was the line that was used on me by the perpetrator of this whole thing is stay in you are such a genius. Stay in that zone, go out and close deals, travel the world. Because the further I was away from the workings of what was actually going on, then I'm just like, okay, cool. Because to me, this is great. This is a great partnership. You're dealing
Yeah.
with all the stuff that I hate. I'm out here making it rain, closing deals, winning until there was nothing left. And so, yeah, don't stay in your genius zone to the point where you abdicate and just surrender all of that's not good. And so,
It's
Sam,
not good.
yeah, one of the things that I like to talk about with people that I now coach and consult, because I feel like my purpose now in life is to take this crazy path that I've been through and say, you don't have to do that. You can if you want. I mean, if you want to pay that kind of tuition, you can learn that way. But there's another way to do it. And with a lot of entrepreneurs, accounting, taxes, that is the not genius zone. That's the yucky zone. But you don't have to become a master's level accountant to understand a little bit about your numbers. So I start people by saying, schedule an appointment with your CPA once every quarter. and just do that. Not in March when they can't even see straight because they're so busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it
Yeah.
in June. Do it in, and then all these other times that they can give you an hour of time with focus, understand some context, and that's 1.0. That's your first system for accounting, right?
Yeah. And as you delegate, as you continue, you still have to check. You still have to shine the light under the hood, and you still have to see, and you still have to understand what you're looking at. If not, it's just a matter of time.
Totally. You have to. One of my mantras is inspect what you expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to. And if you don't do that, like every time I ask or delegate something, I have a habit now of using my phone, and just tell Siri to remind me of that in 90 days or go to my calendar and put that out in 90 days. So that there is the closing of that open loop that I just created with that delegation.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So tell me, now you're coaching and mentoring. Who are you looking for? Like, who's your ideal client? And then how do you help them?
It's service businesses of all kinds. We have a pretty wide range. We work with software development firms, marketing agencies. Lately, we've had a lot of trades people coming in, like plumbers and electricians and contractors and HVAC companies. But it's usually tied to some revenue thresholds. That's where I see some of the sticky points that slow people down, and they hit a capacity ceiling where they start a business because they're good at that trade or a skill, but then once they get to about $1 million, sometimes it's 5, 6, 7, 800,000. That's where the problems that they need to start dealing with, like you said, that they're the CEO, but they're still dealing with all just the trade problem. And nobody tells you when you embark on this journey, like, once you get a certain point, you got to allocate some of your time to becoming a leader of people and a learner of numbers. And, there are different skills that you got to start putting your hat on for if you want to keep growing the business. And if that's kind of what I get into with people. So pretty much any service business. I'm trying to think if there's any niche or areas that we have just a lot of service-based guys that are at that level. And sometimes it's 20-year companies that have been stuck at between $2.5 and $3 million, and they just keep going up and down like this in that little threshold. Because
what got you here won't get you there, so you have to change.
Bingo. Yeah. And that's it. It's starting with this, with putting in systems, and some of them are very simple, and a lot of people complicate that, it seems, in their mind. They think, I'm not good at systems, I'm more the visionary, I need an operator. And that's great, but sometimes you get into that sticky situation that we're talking about here, where you hand the reins over to somebody to do all the other details. And I would definitely say, don't do that. And just start allocating a little bit of your time. So if you can get a system, is an acronym that stands for save yourself time, energy, money, right? Anything. I wanted to get in shape. My first system to doing that, when I realized I'm making a decision every morning if I'm going to go to the gym. And I'll stand there in front of my closet for 10 minutes, be like, well, I'm not, yeah. I'm pretty good at selling myself on why not to,
Yeah, I'm tired. Slept wrong.
So my first system to get in shape, set the gym clothes right next to my toothbrush the night before. That's it. As soon as I did that, everything shifted. Because then I would walk in, I'd grab the toothbrush, be like, yeah, okay. So I'm done. The decision it's already made. So that's
you made it last night.
Yeah.
We're putting the clothes there.
Simple decision, simple system, better results. With accounting, make the quarterly appointment with your CPA now. All 4 quarters. Just get it set up. And then you've got conversations to have, and you have those touch points already on the books.
There are so many coaches out there and mentors. I will say that my favorite ones, the ones that have been able to help me the most, have been ones who have been to jail, who have been through bankruptcy, who have been stolen from, cheated, who have built big companies, lost everything, gone homeless, put it all back together, rebuilt big companies and exited. They're the guys and gals who have been through hell. And they're not 25-year-old gurus who tell you they're deeply experienced in the last 2 years. It's like, it's guys and gals who've really, really been through it, because you know what happens when you don't do the right things. And there's nuances there that you don't catch unless you've been through it.
Absolutely. That's totally, there's a saying that you can learn from your experience or you can learn from the experience of others. It's really the only two ways. And so
That's it.
which one do you want to learn from? And I know that I know what it's cost me. I know what, 4.5 years in litigation, Sam, where I spent every day, 7, 8 hours all day long. And I'd start with a stack of deposition papers this big, and I'd have 6 colors of pens and highlighters there, and a stack of post-it notes, and I'd go page by page, and I'd mark it up and add a comment and add context, reliving every little finite detail that I was too busy for the first go around. That had I just done something to be aware, just to be cognizant of what was going on, I could have avoided that. That's almost 5 years of my life spent.
And you may not have lost your company because you would have been a lot more profitable.
Totally.
Your employees wouldn't have lost their jobs.
So many dominoes came like falling from that, right? That could have gone this way, that way, or the other. So taking those, that's why I feel so passionate about wanting to share those experiences, because it's not just a oops. I mean, it's a major tuition price tags that's been paid, and it's not so complicated.
It's not. But what's dangerous is there's so many gurus out there teaching people to do the exact same thing that you did that left you off, that led you down this path.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. So I guess beware. That's a good point.
So if people are listening to this and they're thinking, I'd really like to work with Justin, or I really like how he sees the world. How do they get a hold of you?
The best way is probably on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, and all of those social platforms. We have the same handle, username. It's Justin Lund. Come over there and just check out. I'm trying to put out videos and content and articles every day that are meaningful, that are helpful. I have, I don't know how many hundreds of playbooks that I've created and used from all those years, as well as these last 5 years of coaching and assisting other businesses, whether it's hiring a CPA because you don't know how to find the right one. Okay, don't hire the wrong one, because some of them could be complicit in this whole kind of scheme, which I had one in that case. Yep. So there's playbooks for that. There's playbooks for hiring your next executive assistant. So if any of those things that I have, if you feel like you have a stuck point, just come follow me on Instagram. If you follow me, I'll share my entire library with you if anything can be helpful. So that's all I ask. That's
fantastic. And if anyone's on the fence, I 100% encourage you to reach out to Justin, because it's the people who have been through the fire who understand it the best and can help you go around it, save years, millions of dollars, pain, divorce, jail time, all these things that you had no intention of doing, but IRS and others don't care because you should have known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? They don't let you off with ignorance. That's unfortunate, but it's part of the system. That's for sure. I can attest.
Even if you're trying to do what's right, even if you got integrity and all those things, they don't do it. So Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I'll make sure those links are in the show notes. And any last comments for our guest?
No, thanks for having me, and good luck with navigating everything that's going on out there, and anything that we can do to help, happy to do so.
Awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And folks, we'll see you next time. If this episode shifted your thinking, then share it with someone bold. And remember, capital is a tool. Use it to build a world you are proud to live in.